Welcome everyone to Live with Janome. If you're out there, you can go ahead. Give me a heads up. If you're out there, you can go ahead. There we go. I'll turn that down so we don't have two voices going. But if you're out there, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Let me know things are going okay. Let's see. Try that. Hi, Anne. Welcome. And Judith. Genevieve, welcome, welcome. We'll get started in just a moment. But today on Live with Janome, I'm Anne Hein, embroidery software specialist. And today we're going to go over an interesting, I think it's a fun project for the holidays. It could actually be any time, but it's a quick project. And it's for both sewing and your serger. So it doesn't have to do with embroidery at all. So I don't always have to do embroidery stuff. But before we go there, what I want to do is pop over here. There we go. I have my countdown to Christmas tree up. And as you can see, all the pieces of the tree are there now and 2 ornaments are on because we're on day 7. This was a project we did, I think it was last year or the year before, probably last year, the countdown to Christmas. You'll find it over on the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page underneath the guides. There's some there, or under the files, you'll find it. And of course, I have Ginger Pink here to help out. And this is little, I call him Trashy. He's one of the little things that you can find in our CM17. I think there's one in the 500 and 550E. And typically he's done all in one color. But when I started that, you couldn't see, his dots on this print. See, this print's pretty wild. So I just laid this over the fabric. I didn't even stitch it down. I just laid it over and it stitched right on through there. I was doing this at a show and they filled him with all kinds of fabric trash from our booth. So that's why I called him Trashy. So there's Trashy. But yeah, if you want to do the countdown tree, you'll see this going on through all my lives through the December season, right up to Christmas. So this week we have, I'm going to pop in. Tomorrow we have another live with Danielle Amato. She's one of our other educators, and she does some other things for Janome. She's going to be doing some gift bags, so you'll be able to check that out. And then, of course, we have our holiday open house on Saturday, on the same place here. The weekday ones are at 3 p.m. and the Saturday one is at 11. And then Friday over on the Continental Club, we have the Continental Live. So there's a project over there too. I can't remember who's there on. I think it's Celine is doing something on Friday. But there you go. You can find it on the Continental page, and then you'll find the schedule for here over on the, so we are now on the sewing machine page. So let me see who's here today. We got quite a few people. As we go along, if you want to pop your questions in the comments and I'll check them as I go. And so that way, and if I don't answer it, I'll catch it afterwards because I always go back and answer it again. So I'm going to put my camera on the little project so you can see it, and then we'll get started. So here we go. This is what I need right there. So these are some little holiday napkins, and maybe you've seen them before. They're in the shape of a tree, and I did 2 of them. This is done in the sewing machine, and this is done on the serger, but you can do part of it on the sewing machine and then just do your rolled edge on your serger. So when you open them up, this is what I call my cocktail size. They're this big. So there you go. And you just fold them to get them where you want, and then you can set them on your plate. Same thing over here. Whoops, let me hold that down. And they are 2-sided, so you can use a solid and a print or 2 prints. And this is actually a one-way print, as you can see when I lay this on top here. It would have been kind of like that when I cut it. So be mindful of that when you're doing your pieces, though. This doesn't look so bad when it's folded up. You only see parts of it. And for some good old reason, I have no idea, my bird was like right there. He didn't get cut off. And I know I have a needle in here right now. I'm going to show you later how to get rid of the tails when you serge. So I'll do a little bit of serging and I'll show you that today. So let's get started. What I used for this is, let me get these out of the way because I'm not going to need them. you're going to need your rotary cutter. You're going to need some type of device to draw a line. And you could use any of these. You could even use a pencil, a marker, whatever is going to show on your fabric. But I have a variety of different things, so you'll need some of that. You'll need your rotary cutter, of course, and your fabric. You might want to use something like this, so I'm going to show you a way so you don't have to use a ruler. This is a wedge ruler. It has little holes right in here where you can mark your piece. When you lay it this way, you can mark the curve and then flip it over and mark the other. This is the D by D, and it's designed by Dots, and it's from the Sewing Revolution. So I have that one. I could use that if I wanted to, or I could make my own little handy dandy little thing here with a piece of string and my, this is my chalk pencil, one of the chalk pencils I have. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's fairly easy. You'll all go, oh yeah, I've done that before. No big deal, Anne. But anyways, before we get to that, I'll show you how they go together. Once you cut them, you lay them right sides together. And then on the sewing machine, if you're doing it all on the sewing machine, you're going to stitch around it like this. And I like to do that, what I call the little channel at the top. Can you see where I've sewn in here and then I go around that? So when I turn it, and I'm going to turn it quickly, I did pink my edges and I trimmed my corner. So you'll need a point turner, but I'm going to just turn this really quick to show you how that little channel works when you get everything around onto the other side. And you could very easily cut a bunch of these out and, like chain sew them as you go and just have a quick night of turning and pressing, and you'll have you could have a whole table's worth. So see, now that I've done that, all I have to do is really give this a little bit of a little tug, and all those ends, they go right under there because I did that channel. So I don't have to mess around with that so much. And then once you're done, the one on the sewing machine, I went ahead and did I top stitched around to close that, and I used about an 1/8 inch. And what I did when I did this one, I'll get the one I sewed. When I did this one, I did use a metallic thread. It's hard to see on the green side, and then I used regular thread. But I used my HP foot without the HP plate, and that safety hole that's in the foot in straight needle positions, in center needle position. You can put the foot right on the edge, and it gives you about an 1/8 there. We have other feet. We have some edge guide feet that would be great for this as well. So you can easily top stitch that around. You could probably do a decorative stitch too, but you have to remember it's going to show on both sides. So make sure that you have, matching thread in the bobbin when you do that, and double check your stitch before you go. So this is how I did this one. So once I got it turned, and I pressed it really nice. One of the other tips I have besides that channel is I did turn my stitch length down to a smaller stitch length, because when you're doing a curve, that small stitch length helps your fabric turn the corner very well. So rather than, large stitches. So I turned it down. I think I had it at 1.8. You can even go down to 1.5, and then you would fix that out really nice. You can use your point turner in there. I have this wooden one. You could run that up in the corner here, and then in the far corner, and then sometimes I just take it and run it along the seam a little bit to get the seam to poke where I need it to be. And then I'll take it to my iron and press it from there. Like that. That's pretty quick. Just a quick sew around and top stitching, and then you're all done. You've got these ready to go. And then I'll show you folding them as we get near the end. So the one for the serger, I took my 2 pieces and I used my sewing machine to sew them together. You could do it on your serger as well. And then I pressed it all nice. So this is ready to go to the serger, and we will serge this edge. And I will do that in just a moment. I want to do some other things before I get to the serging part of it. So I have my serger back here. I'll be pulling it forward to show you how to serge it. But how do you get that shape? Let me show you how you get that shape. And I do have the bigger size here. This is this is a larger size. This would be, I think it's an 8. These are, let me see what we got here. This is a 16-inch diameter. right here. So you can make them this big. This would be great because when it opens up, you have a nice size napkin here when you get done. And I have 2 colors here, and that's how I cut them. I cut them two at a time. There's 4 layers. Nice sharp rotary cutter. Make sure you do that, and then be very careful. So let me double check if there's any questions. Everything looks good. All right. Don't you love this fabric? I know I had this in my stash for I'm not sure how long, and I pulled it out and I had just enough. So here's my fabric, and I'm going to turn it this way. Here we go. And I have 2 layers here. I folded it and pressed it really nice. Make sure you press it because it really makes things work a lot easier when you press it. You might need some paper tape, so I have my paper tape handy here just to hold things down. So I'm going to set this way so you guys can see. I don't need to go all the way over here because this is the holder for my camera. So we're going to start at the 4, and the middle of this would be, if I was going to, this would be 8, and then I want to go another 8 here. So we're over here. So that would be my diameter. Okay. And so I marked the center. I did pin my edge together here because I cut some before. You can see where I cut them before. And I'm using a little bit of tape on this side just to hold that side down so I don't have 4 hands, so that's kind of handy. And then I'm going to take my string here, and I measured from here to here to see what that is, and that's how I tied it on here. This is actually the drawing part. So it'll fit right to there. Now you can hold it and do your drawing like this if you like, or you can put another pin through there and hold it in the fabric like this. And you could also put a piece of tape to hold it as well. Now there's lots of tools out there. You may have those nice tools for drawing circles, or you may not. And it is the holidays. You could put it on your list. You might not be able to run out and get it. So I wanted to show you, kind of the low-tech way to do this. So there it is there. And I'm just going to start here. I may put a piece of tape because you can see that this is lifting up. So if I hold it down, that would be better for me. So I'm ready to go. I'm just going to start on this side and hold my finger there. And I'm just going to draw my circle. Of course, my chalk is not showing too well at this rate. Let me just go in this direction. There we go. You have to keep your string taut. And this chalk isn't showing as well on this color. I can still see it, but it's not as well shown as my other one. But it'll get me to where I need to go. And then once I get it all drawn like that, all right, let's see where we're going here. I went a little far because I'm talking and trying to look at my comments at the same time. There we go. Now I can kind of see where I'm going with that. And then I would just take my sharp rotary cutter and I would cut like this around. Okay. So it's hard to see that line, but that's how you would do it. You want to use a chalk pencil, I could put a marker in there because this is all going to be in the seam allowance, so you're not going to see it. All right. So that's easy to do. So once you get them cut, let me move this out of the way. And they're like this together. You can open them up and cut them with your scissor if you want. Or what I did, because, I want to do it as quick as I can, I took my ruler and my nice sharp piece and I put it right along that edge. I'm just going to nip off a tiny little piece of that. And, when you're making your curve, you could actually make a paper template first, and then you'd have it for future years. So you wouldn't have to recreate that for each one. You could just lay it on there and draw. So that's a good way to go if you want to do a paper template. There we go. And I'm just going to take that little bit off, and it goes in my trash, close my cutter. And now I have my pieces. So I'm going to put these 2 are together. And then I'm just going to take these two and put them together this way. And then depending on which one I'm going to use, if I'm going to do the serge edge, which I'll probably do with this, I would just stitch straight across this and start pinning. If I was going to do the turn method, like I did on this one, I would go to my sewing machine and I'm going to leave a spot to open, but I want to come in like a 1/4 inch, stitch to my corner, turn, come all the way around, come back here and stitch off that way, leaving that opening, making that little channel. That little channel is very handy. I didn't originate it, someone else did, so it's out there, but it's a great way to go. All right, now I want to talk a little bit about thread and the serger. What I did on this one, I did a rolled hem with a metallic, a woolly thread in the top that's metallic looking, and then I had a metallic in my woolly in the upper, metallic in the lower, and regular sewing thread to sew it down. When you get done doing your curve, all right, you'll have a tail at the top and a tail here. To get rid of that tail, you want to use one of these nice, I don't know if you can see it, wide-eyed needles. And then you can stick it in here, like at your seam. I usually start it like this because sometimes my tail is short. And then you just thread this through here. There are threaders you can use as well. Let's see if I can get it in there. Earlier it went very nicely, but you know, when I'm talking, things never go in there because I can't concentrate. There we go. Let me try one more time. There it is. There we go. So now that it's threaded, all I have to do is bring it through here like that. And then gently wiggle it out. There we go. And then the part that's sticking out, I'll just trim that right there. Okay, that's easy. We've all seen that happen. These are really nice. I don't know the name of these needles. They have a gold top to them. So I'm not sure what they're called, but I got them at a show once, and they're all out of their packages because I bought a bunch of different ones in one package, and I have these tubes for beads. And so I put my needles, different sizes in here. I haven't labeled them, but these are my wide eye needles. Then I have some narrower ones, so I use these little tubes. They're pretty handy. Those packages are always a pain in the neck. All right, so when you're ready to fold it, you're going to take I would put the side that you want to show most on the bottom. You're going to just fold over and make a smaller triangle. Lift this one up and bring that edge over there, and it makes your 3-fold. And then I did carefully, on this one, I carefully pressed here and here, a little bit here and a little bit here. This is woolly nylon, so I want to be careful. I don't want to press that. And then for the other one, which I haven't done yet, I would just do it and press it. Well, where is it? I did do it. It's here somewhere. It's hiding. Oh, here it is. Here we go. So again, with that one, you would just figure out your first triangle and then bring it over to this side like that. And then give it a good press and it'll hold up very nicely there. I've also seen some where they've put a little tree trunk down here. So if you wanted to do a little fabric piece, you could put a tree trunk on them if you want, or you can just leave them like that. That's always fine too. All right, so let's talk thread. I have some thread here, and I'm going to double check to see, make sure there's no comments. We're doing good. All right. So this is my woolly nylon here, and this is from YLI. It's not a real thick woolly. All right, so but it is a woolly nylon. It has I can feel a little bit of stretch to it. It's good for rolled hems. And then this is a metallic. This is artistic metallic. Janome sells this thread. And I really like this thread for a metallic. There's other metallics I use as well, but I do like this. And when I use it on my regular sewing machine, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little holder that's in there. Let me see if I can get it in the right spot. You can see that little holder? That will hold on your spindle so it stays in place, and then this metallic spools off of there nicely. I always have really good luck with this. So I did load this in onto my serger on the lower looper. This one is in the upper looper, and then I have solid black thread, regular serger thread in my top. Now, when you go to do this, and I'm going to pull my serger forward, I have the air thread, but you can do it with any serger. Here we go. There. All right, so we're going to have to do a downward look at this only because to change my camera around angle, it's very, it gets all wobbly for everyone. So I'm going to leave it this way for now, but just talk about, well, I'll bring it forward enough so you can see. You can see back here, I have my 3 threads. So I have my right needle, upper looper, lower looper. And then for my tensions, and this is where you need to check it for your thread. I have the needle thread set at 4. I have my upper looper at 0 and my lower looper at 4, around 4. And then on the side, I have it set at R for roll temp. And then I move my stitch length to a little bit lower than 1.0. And that just brings it closer. I wanted it a little bit close. On my air thread, there's a little thing here. I move this way for the stitch finger. It takes that little finger that your stitches form on, it moves it back. So it's under R right there. And oh, hi, Wanda. I wondered where you were. I was taking attendance and I noticed you weren't there. So, and if you haven't seen, I don't know if we can see inside the air threader. Oh, you can see a little bit. So when you have the air threader, when you're doing your loopers, what you would do is you would turn this little piece here to which looper you're going to thread, and then you would turn this to the right. And as you turn your hand wheel, it closes the connector here, so the air channel is there. So when you pump your thread, it actually flies through and comes out the other side. Now with woolly nylon, oops, we don't want to do that. Let's put that down here. With woolly nylon, that I don't use that for. Your machine comes with a long threader in its toolbox, and that's what I use for my, it's a looper threader. And so looks like this, and let me get it close because with the camera it's hard to see it. It is, there's actually 2 in here. It's a little wire. I'm going to set that one in there. Let me see if I can hold this up. Would this help? If it's on, oh, here it is. There we go. Let's do it this way. So can you see it has an opening on this side where you would put the thread, and it's a really long piece on this end. So you would thread this through the channel. When you close that channel, you can just thread it through and it pops out the other side and you just pull it through. Very easy. So I've used that for my woolly nylon or any tricky thread that doesn't want to go through the looper when I use the air thread part of it. But if you want to have, less stress when you're using a serger, whew, get our AT2000. This air thread 2000 is fantastic. I love it. I love it. And of course, you can always do the tie on and pull through. But I want to warn you on that. When you do a tie on and pull through, you still need to know how to thread your serger, because what could happen is as you're going through, something could break or your knot could come apart. So, even though you can tie on and pull through, there might be that oops day. So do practice threading your serger, and then so that when you have one of those days, you're not at a loss. It's really not as hard as everyone says it is. Just take your time. You'll get your strategy and it all will go well. All right. Oh, see, Wanda, yes, you need it for you have a bevy of machines, but this is the one you're missing. And I do have just my right needle in. I did take the left needle out. Now, all of this information is in the manual, so you can easily look in the manual and find it there. Once I get my threads through, I do what's called chaining off. So I have a chain here. And basically what I do, my foot is down, and I think I have some, dusty stuff there. And then I'm going to press my gas pedal and chain off so I can take a look at this part of it here. So I know my stitches are they're forming okay. I don't have anything stuck under the foot. Sometimes you have a thread stuck. Everything's flowing out of there nicely. I'm happy with that. Then I'm going to take my piece that I'm going to serge. Here it is here. And you can do it on either side. I think I'll do it on this side. I think you guys can see it going in better. I do have my knife in, so I am going to use my knife a little bit. I'm just going to raise my foot up just a tiny bit to get it started. I'm just nipping off the edge. Now, I would definitely, I'm going to hope everything's good because I didn't do a test stitch before I started today. Do a little test stitching on a couple pieces. Double your fabric because that's what you're going to have. And do some test stitching so that you have that stitch exactly where you want it. Because what will happen is, if you do the first one and it's not good, of course you can come back and stitch it again. You might end up with a napkin that's about this big, but you've got your stitch right at that point. All right, so here we go. I'm going to get this started. It's a little loud, and I'll try to get it done without too much to do here. So you can see I'm just nipping off a little bit. I'm just going to I'm looking right here so that my fabric is going right there. I'm not looking at my needle. I don't need to see that part of it. I can stop here and I can take a look at what's happening over here. Look at that. It's going beautiful. So I'm just going to keep going. And of course you can go really fast. It's a serger. But I'm on a bumpy table and everybody will get seasick, I think, if I do that. Oops. A little bit wide there, but that's okay. And then when you get to the end, of course, chain off. And while I was talking to you guys, I went off here and I have a little bit of a broken thread. So I probably will have to do a little work on this corner, but we'll fix that. So there we have it. This end looks good. And what happened is while I was doing that end, I was looking to my left to where my comments are. So there you have it. Of course, you're going to trim this and tuck it in. When you're ready to fold this, you're going to make your first fold, your first triangle. This takes a little bit when you do your second one. You're going to bring it over here. You have to do a little bit of adjusting, like this needs to be bigger. Maybe that needs to be over there. Look at that. Done in no time. Just make sure see, I went right off because I was looking in the wrong direction. So make sure you're following along and you'll be just fine as you get to the end. Okay. And of course, you won't be doing a live while you do yours, so it might be a little bit easier for you. Let me go back and I'll take any questions that we have. I'll put the camera back on and we'll see where everybody's at. There we go. All right, there we go. That wasn't so hard, was it? I mean, I gave you 2 ways to do that. So if you don't want to use your serger, which I think, I don't know, it's kind of, even if you didn't use, your woolly nylon, you don't have to use a metallic on the other side if you don't want to. You can use a regular thread. I just like the extra look that it gave my piece, so that's why I did that. But that's up to you. Test your stitches out so you can do that. And they're easy. I mean, I have a couple cut out now. I think I can just breeze through them. You can put any combinations together that you like. Make them any size, the cocktail size or larger. Now the cocktail size ones, I'll tell you, I have a serving platter that's round and I used that and that made the nice circle and then I just cut it in half. So you could do that kind of thing too if you want to. You don't have to do the drawing part. There's rulers out there for all of that. All right, let's make sure we have any comments or questions. Anybody have any questions for me before we get going? I know everybody's going to be busy cutting up their Christmas fabrics and matching them up with other fabrics. I mean, you could make these for year round if you had different prints. I mean, how about those of you that have campers, that have RVs? These would make cute little napkins for your RV while you're out there in nature. So lots of great things that you can do. Let's see, I think we're pretty good. All right, let me check my, I think I've got everything on here. Yep, I think I mentioned everything. Oh, you're right, Danielle. It's a quick hostess gift. I mean, you could make up, 6 of these really quickly. And then, you could put them in a cute little box and take them over to, over for a little gift. There we go. Marty's going to make some too. So if you make any, make sure you come back and post pictures of your napkins. We'd love to see them. I had a great time with you this afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and happy holidays as the countdown continues. Bye for now, everyone. Have a great day.